Hi and welcome. We have our teacher of the month this month for the month of November, and she was nominated for us. So welcome. Can you introduce yourself to our group?
Sure. I'm Brigetta Taddei, um, and I am an ESL teacher.
Well, welcome and thank you for joining us. Today we're going to ask you a bunch of questions. Let's start with what are some of the things your students call you at school?
For the most part, Mrs. Taddei, and the reason is it rhymes with daddy, and most of my students know mom, dad, even newcomers, and so they don't have a problem. So it's always been I always just say to them, Taddei rhymes with daddy. If you can say daddy, and they're like, yes, Mrs. Taddei. So I think sometimes they might actually be saying Mrs. Daddy by accident, but Mrs. Taddei's pretty easy for them.
It sounds like you're easygoing enough that you would go with Mrs. Daddy too.
I I wouldn't care. So long as they're being polite and respectful, what does it matter? And I tend to call them by Miss, like things like that. I tend to be a little, or, I'll say Mr. So and so. I tend to also I hope they feel comfortable enough and that we have a respect for each other that they're comfortable calling me different things, I guess.
Well, how many years teaching experience do you have?
I have over 30 now. And since 2010, it's been in ESL. Prior to that, it was fourth grade for over 20. So, which I loved fourth grade too.
And you work for the Jimthorpe Area School District. Have you been with Jimthorpe your entire career?
No, I did a little bit in Catasauqua and in a Catholic school prior, but 30 years, 2000, 1990, I came to Jimthorpe.
Great. They're very lucky to have you. So, what is your favorite thing about working at the Jimthorpe Area School District?
I think I like the small town atmosphere, and yet because we're really unique here because we have a large population from New York City and North New Jersey, that we also have an urban uh, bit of population too. And I think the mixture is very unique and special. And then you put it in this area that is full of natural beauty with mountains and rivers and lakes, and it's a wonderful place to teach and to live in.
I could see outside your window. It looks beautiful up there. The leaves
Yeah,
must all be changing now.
I wish it was sunny because it's like a golden color outside there.
So, what is one thing about you that no one probably knows?
Well, because I'm such a talker, they probably don't realize that at one time I was unable to talk, had a lot of speech problems, ended up with Easter seals in Bethlehem for intensive speech therapy at age 3, and continued with speech therapy until I was in 10th grade. And now my mother sometimes worries that maybe she, shouldn't have given me that, all that therapy, speech therapy, had got, because of receiving it. Now I talk too much, but I think it's a real asset in ESL because I know what it's like to have a language barrier and to have so much in my head and not be able to communicate it for others to understand. And I think it allows me to be very empathetic with my students. And I think they know that story. They know that I had speech issues and that language was difficult for me. So there's that bond I create with them too because of it.
I could just tell immediately, just anybody that talks to you, how much you truly care about students, and having that connection is so invaluable. So, what inspired you to be a teacher?
Well, because of that speech problem, or issue, whatever you want to call it, I was had a lot of trouble in class when I was younger, reading out loud, answering questions because I was afraid of, being made fun of or laughed at. And so I kept very quiet. And I didn't do well with oral fluency. And at that time, that was very big in the 70s. And so I was put into those bluebird groups, or the lowest groups. And it wasn't until sixth grade when Mr. Rabe, Kernsville sixth grade teacher, um, started questioning it and asked my parents for permission to do some testing. And he had the para take me out and do all these different tests for about a week. And I went from the bluebirds to the high group, eagles soaring, and it really changed my whole life, because then I was put into the right track for junior high. I was in the college prep track, and it enabled me to do so many other class choices and things like that, because of him taking the time and really looking into say why. She's an A student. It's everything's so easy for her. He took the time to realize that it just wasn't coming across that I had the intelligence to do things, and I should be in a higher group. My abilities I wasn't reaching my potential.
It's so amazing to see the power of one teacher and the effect on your life. And it's just so inspiring, because I know you are making a difference with so many students, and having that background is just such a valuable connection to them.
I hope so. And I think it's what's enabled me to be a very strong advocate. Before I was in the ESL program and or LIEP now, even as a fourth grade teacher, I'm working with inclusion, and now in ESL, being an advocate is such an important factor of our job. And I know what it did for me that one teacher was an advocate for me.
So our next part is talking a little bit about technology, and I'm guessing you probably are an advocate in that way as well. So how does technology impact your teaching?
I even before I started in the ESL classroom, I was at the door of the technology department saying, I need iPads for my students to be able to contact me throughout the day, and they need an email address. I need them to be able to have translation apps and other things available on their iPad, be able to take pictures, and they were the tech department was right there for me from day one. Whatever I needed, don't worry, we'll get it for you. And I have had wonderful apps and different programs that I use still today. And without it, I don't know how I would have done this job, because I speak English. I don't have a fluency in any other language. I've worked with Russian, I've worked with Chinese, Korean, Moldovan, Spanish, Italian, German. I mean, there's no way I could do this. And in a small or a low incident school district, we have one person, and you're working from pre-K to 12th grade. So without technology, there's no way I could access so many different grade level materials so I could do curriculum-based work and things like that. So I don't know how anyone does it without technology. And I thank goodness that Jimthorpe has always really been, I think, ahead, even though we're a small school. And we one-to-one, it's just amazing. Technology makes a huge difference in the lives of an EL.
Well, it's very encouraging how you're using technology. And we have a wonderful network of ESL teachers and administrators that are meeting. So if you could pass on a piece of advice to our ESL peers, what would you share?
I would say that, when you first get a newcomer, it is so overwhelming, and you're sitting there thinking, how can I get them on? Especially in a low incident school, right from day one. We don't have a newcomers program. They're in the classroom and they're expected to be learning grade level content. And that is overwhelming to them, to the teachers, to me. And I think I would say is just sit back, breathe, and realize you are going to be on the greatest journey. It is just spectacular. When you see them, all of a sudden they have a conversation with you and you're like, oh, we talked. It was more than hello. It was more than yes or no. It was those things will get you through. And you just have to remember on those days when you're like, oh, just It will get better, and it is going to be amazing. And the bond you get to create with these kids is just, it's phenomenal. And I tell that to my regular content teachers as well. I said, just, you are going to be so happy at the end of the year and be so impressed to see the difference that not only that you have made, but all those children in your classroom, because they truly learn from other children. I think more so than from us when it comes to the English language, because that social interaction and everything is so important. So it is an amazing journey. It is the best of all. In 30 years, I can say it is the best 10 years. You have such a bond with your students. The bond you also get to have with parents and the trust and the respect that they give you, it's just an amazing experience.
As we go into this month of November and our season of thankfulness, I am definitely thankful for teachers like you that are such a strong advocate for their students and using every available resource that you can. So it was definitely an honor to interview you today and get to know you a little bit more. And the nomination definitely makes sense after you meet with her over this little video. So I thank you for joining us and for all you're doing to advocate for our kids. Jimthorpe is extremely lucky to have a teacher like you. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.